Alfred Hitchcock is undoubtedly one of the best and arguably the most influential director in all of cinema history. We talk about many directors who are influenced by him and his style, but what exactly influenced him? No artist creates in a vacuum. We all have those things in our past, those things in our childhoods that influence how we tell a story. I'm Mrs. Aguilar, and it's time to look at what influenced cinema's most influential director.
We all enjoy, shall we say, putting our toe in the cold water of fear.
Alfred Joseph Hitchcock was born in London, England on August 13, 1899. At 20 years old, he became a title card designer at a silent movie studio and worked his way up to become a director. By 1926, he made his first thriller, The Lodger.
The Lodger is probably considered the first real Hitchcock movie. It has all the elements that you find throughout his films. A man wrongly accused of several crimes in this case, and you have the blonde, and you have the suspense.
Hitchcock described his childhood as lonely and sheltered, partly because of his extremely strict Catholic upbringing and partly because of his obesity. This is reflected in many of his male characters who spend much of their time alone, either by choice or by circumstance. His movies have been used by psychologists as studies of desperation and loneliness, looking at characters such as Scotty Ferguson in Vertigo, Jeffries in Rear Window, and Norman Bates in Psycho.
Is your time so empty?
No. Well, I run the office and tend the cabins and grounds and do little errands for my mother, the ones she allows I might be capable of doing.
Do you go out with friends?
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Hitchcock's parents were strict disciplinarians. His father once sent young Alfred to the police station with a note explaining that the boy had been misbehaving and should be locked up in a cell for 10 minutes as punishment. This gave Hitchcock a sensitivity to characters who are wrongfully accused or falsely punished. Most of his stories, including those he wrote before becoming a director, revolve around those themes. And of course, his famous films, 39 Steps, The Lodger, North by Northwest, Murder, Young and Innocent, The Wrong Man, and Frenzy all have characters who are wrongfully accused. Hitchcock's mother was strict as well.
Good under the circumstances.
Counselor, how long have you known your client?
7 years, Your Honor.
Do you know him to be a reasonable man?
Absolutely.
Mother.
She sometimes forced him to stand at the foot of her bed for several hours as a form of punishment, which is alluded to in Psycho.
How did you acquire this turn of mind? You look like such a pussycat.
I think my mother scared me when I was 3 months old.
You
see, she said, boo. It gave me the hiccups.
Yes?
And she apparently was very satisfied. All mothers do it, you know. That's how fear starts in everyone.
That's an interesting insight into psychology. I didn't realize that.
Weren't you ever booed at by your mother?
If you've seen any of the following Hitchcock movies, you've no doubt noticed the reoccurring motif of birds portending death and horror. Young and Innocent, The Lodger, Blackmail, Sabotage, The Lady Vanishes, Saboteur, Foreign Correspondent, To Catch a Thief, Vertigo, Psycho, Topaz, and of course, The Birds. Hitchcock had become an avid birdwatcher in his many solitary hours as a child. He was also fascinated by several news articles he'd read, one about a seabird attack on a coastal town, and another of hundreds of birds washing up on the shore of another town. Like many other directors, Hitchcock was influenced by the historical events of his time, like World War II and the Cuban Missile Crisis, as well as artistic movements like German Impressionism and Surrealism.
As you watch the films of Alfred Hitchcock, see if you can spot any of these influences in the characters that he chooses, in the way his plot develops, and the way he tells his story.